So we've got an update. It's the 25th of June. And what you're looking at is a hate crime, a war crime, an act of domestic terrorism to silence a whistleblower, which are, well, they're violating every single international convention and covenant that protects men and women from this type of domestic terrorism. Now, last August, this woman was in exercise of her job, a job that she was given by her spouse, in order to save her life and protect their property. And so this has been, well, this is, who was this here? Let's see. Sorry here, who was on that day? Oh, that's right. This is the handiwork of Paula Donici, who is impersonating a fiction. So if you've read their paperwork, it says quite clearly on the paperwork that unless you have lawful, they call them excuses for non-compliance. So we've provided those reasons again and again and again for 10 months of why we are not subject to fictitious plaintiffs, fictitious claimants, persons who are actually guilty of what they're accusing this innocent woman of doing. So every man and woman in Canada who knows their rights has standing to fill out these public servant fiction papers. So on June the 19th, this warrant was canceled by the only woman with power and authority to cancel the warrant. And an inspector, a male who believes it has been granted a title, allegedly a title of nobility, which spits in the face of equality and fairness, was emailed a copy of this canceled warrant. They have no jurisdiction. And we know they have no jurisdiction. Because what they're trying to do is commit another war crime. They're committing an act of terrorism. They're looking to kidnap, unlawfully confine, torture, maliciously prosecute, cause irreparable harm, and this is intentional, cause irreparable harm. Willful infliction of emotional distress upon an elder, upon a foreigner who is obviously in need of protection. So let's see what happened this afternoon. Let's hear it. We'll all listen together. Hello? What can I do for you? No? No, I'm sorry. What do you want? No, you don't. I'm sorry, I'm in fear for my life, and you keep doing the same thing to me. That warrant... What is your name? Your name is Sergeant Thompson. Sergeant Thompson, are you aware that men and women are governed by consent and we are policed by consent? to the Criminal Code Section 21, I am not permitted to aid and abet any of your violence and your false accusations, and you are a fictitious, well, you're acting in the role of an agent. Okay, right. So men and women are the principal of all matters pertaining to our lives. So if now Inspector Damien was provided last week, as was the criminal registry, a warrant that has been canceled. Well, I would have the right to sign that warrant because what's happening is it's a hate crime, it's an act of malice, it's an act of domestic terrorism. Now, my family and I have been robbed of everything, and we came to you multiple times to explain this, and you refused service, which is fraud. Well, we are sorry, we don't recognize that office because they actually have, so we know that you're listening to all the uploads that are being presented to the public. We know that you're listening to all of those. We know that you're here today and you have actually heard the last uploads, so you would know that they actually have no authority, especially to commit a crime against innocent people. Now, you have identified yourself as a sergeant, and I identify as a foreign diplomat. Now, you have the right to self-determination. We, men and women, also hold the right to self-determination. So foreign diplomats are not subject to the jurisdiction of the municipality or the province. So we wouldn't be engaging with fictions. Well, they don't have any say in that matter. And what are you, the courts? That doesn't even exist. That's ridiculous. And once again, you've come, you've terrified me. You've covered up the peephole. You've also covered up all of the eyes in the hallway. Listen, you coming to the door is violence. You knocking on the door is violence. It's a violent assault. If all of you have the right to sign the public paperwork, if all of you have the right, and if you believe that that public paperwork has any force or effect, then any man or woman, every man and woman has the right to sign the paperwork that you sign. You don't have any more rights than we the people. You don't have the right to come. Do you have any idea what you're doing? You're now disturbing the peace. You're now committing common nuisance. The door is clearly marked, do not disturb. Excuse me? Well, well, of course, you see, that's sitting on the witness box of the courtroom. That would be who would be issuing that paperwork to me, and I have Rh negative blood, a blood type with no earthly origin. So how do you explain your constant need to commit hate crimes against my family? I mean, this is what you're doing. No, you don't. And that's why you're here, to make sure that I lose my housing. That's why you're here. You're here because you are seeking to make sure that I have no roof over my head, that I lose the little bit that I have left. Right, so here's the problem. We know and we are satisfied that you are perpetually dishonest. Right, because do you understand that the people are the principle of all matters? We employ you. We provide you with directions. And if you are committing a crime, we cannot aid and abet your crimes. Now what you're doing is you're back at the door, you're threatening kidnapping, you're threatening torture, you're threatening unlawful confinement. So, that may have been difficult to listen to. Because the violent assailants on the other side of the door were hard to hear. But they are bound to uphold statute. And what we also know is that they're pathological liars. So the Criminal Code of Canada applies to them. So this is like, so whoever this is right here, oh, and here's, you know, I told you that I'm still all black and blue from head to toe from the last fucking violent assault on the 12th of June. That's not changed at all. So, a falsely accused woman has the right to face their accuser. So who's going to come and take the stand and proclaim and exclaim that this innocent, blameless woman is guilty of criminal harassment? Who is going to take the stand and claim and blame a blameless woman that she is guilty beyond reasonable doubt, right? They have to have they have to have proof beyond reasonable doubt. They have to prove 5 elements. How are they going to determine this woman's state of mind? Willfully resisting, obstructing? No, you were there to fucking violently assault and rob this woman on the 29th of August, so innocent men and women in Canada have the right to resist. Breach of release, we're sorry. We've read your paperwork. We've read the paperwork. And it's crystal clear. Crystal fucking clear. That unless you have. And so, yeah, we can go through the criminal code, and we can point out all the lawful reasons for non-compliance. Parties to offense. Well, we can't help you in any way, shape, fashion, or form because then we are guilty of being parties to your offenses. Now, this fucking Donaghey here, this Paula Donaghey, does that thing have any first-hand knowledge of what's going on here? Well, then what is this thing doing? Contacting this thing right here. This is not a proper signature. This is not a proper signature. This needs to be a signature. Sorry. Well, that would be giving a signature. This woman here has provided an autograph. So what this court of the clerk that has no first-hand knowledge of what's going on here, this court of the clerk is now guilty of person counseling offense, guilty of accessory after the fact. I mean, they are refusing to prevent a breach of the peace. They are counseling excessive force. And that thing ain't guilty. That thing ain't innocent. If you're going to put your name on a document to commit a hate crime against an innocent woman, you're guilty. You're guilty of aiding and abetting all this ugliness and all of this hate and all of this racism and all of this violence and domestic terrorism. So the 2 male monsters at the door are looking for a diplomatic passport. Well, here it is right here. Rh negative blood has no earthly origin. And right there in the courthouse you're going to have our people. You're going to have why you hate our people. You're going to have why you can't understand the language of our people. You're going to fucking find out that you, the twisted snakes, are seeking constantly to end our people's lives. And it sits right there on the witness box to be a witness against what you're doing. So there's no earthly agency on this planet that could be issuing. We express our status. We know who we are. It's called the right to self-determination. Just like the male monsters at the door are identifying themselves as sergeant. And somehow they believe that that gives them privilege. Offenses of violence by negligence. Oh wait, self-induced extreme. Have you read this? Have you gone through this thing? Forcible entry. So that's what they were there to do today. Now today what we heard was uttering threats. We heard criminal harassment. We heard that they are going to commit the crime of forcible entry. So they can commit kidnapping. This is like police misconduct 101. They're guilty of breach of duty. They're guilty of terrorism. They're guilty of participation in activity of terrorist group. So this is a fiction here. This Attorney General, that's a fiction. They're guilty of possession of weapons for dangerous purposes. They're breach of trust by public officer. They're guilty of municipal corruption. They're guilty of disobeying a statute. Listen, men and women, living men and women who have been victimized are the court. So they're disobeying an order. Well, this woman has every right to identify herself as the court. Just like all of these fictions believe that they have the right. Because the humans stand on the same ground the living men and women do. So this woman has every right to cancel this warrant. And that's exactly what she did. And then it was sent to the appropriate public servant. That's who that is right there. The male identifying itself as an inspector. Does it have a passport that identifies itself as an inspector? Because guaranteed its passport is marked with a P, which is pauper. So you're not privileged. You're not privileged at all. None of you are, and neither are you, brazen, brazen. Do you have any first-hand knowledge of what you're doing here? Do you have any first-hand knowledge of the woman that you're assaulting and attacking and committing violent crimes against? Well, then you shouldn't have your name on any of this fictional paperwork. So let's see what's going on here. Now, living law is straight. Living law, the common law, is the straight way. It's the straight gate. And so these attorners, attornment, it means to twist. So what's sick and twisted has no authority. It has no standing ever at any time for any reason. Now let's look at this over here. It says here that the king cannot confer a favor on anyone to the injury and damage of others. So these police, these politicians acting as the bench, these persons impersonating the crown and the public who falsely believe that they're privileged, the one that you're representing cannot confer upon you favors to the injury and damage of my family and my right to peace and my right to be heard and to be left the fuck alone. Oh, let's see, what do we have here? Oh, this is... That's right, fictitious. Canada is a corporation, it's a fiction, it's fictitious. Province of British Columbia is a fiction, it's fictitious. This provincial court is a fiction, it's fictitious. The accused is a fiction, it's fictitious. This clerk of the court is a fiction, it's fictitious. This SAANICH police, you see these file numbers on here? SAANICH police is a fiction, it's a fictitious, it's fictitious. Victoria police, again, it's fictitious, it's a fiction. So let's go over, let's see what this says here. Founded on a fiction, having the character of a fiction, pretended, counterfeit, feigned, imaginary, not real, false, not genuine, non-existent, arbitrarily invented and set up to accomplish an ulterior motive. Ulterior object. Fictitious action, an action brought for the sole purpose of obtaining the opinion of the court to a point of law, not for the settlement of any actual controversy between the parties. Well, that's what this is. These fraudulent, vexatious, frivolous, without merit, scandalous accusations are fictitious actions to silence a whistleblower. And opinions, there are no opinions in a legitimate judicial proceeding. There are no opinions. So what are you doing here? Fictitious name. Well, the Crown is a fictitious name. The public is a fictitious name. Saanich Police Department is a fictitious name. Sergeant is a fictitious name. Inspector is a fictitious name. Constable is a fictitious name. BC Prosecution is a fictitious name. BC Attorney General is a fictitious name. Premier is a fictitious name. A counterfeit, alias, feigned, or pretended name taken by a person differing in some essential particular from its true name, with the implications that it is meant to deceive or mislead. And that's everything that they are doing 24/7. This court is a fictitious name. That's exactly what they're doing. Fictitious plaintiff. Well, that's exactly who has concocted these fraudulent, malicious, vexatious, absolutely fucking outrageous to the standard of decency false accusations against an innocent woman who's blowing the whistle because she has to. She has no option in the matter. So let's look and see what this says. Fictitious plaintiff. A person appearing in the writ, complaint, or record as the plaintiff in a suit, but who in reality does not exist, or who is ignorant of the suit and of the use of their name in it. It is a contempt of court to sue in the name of a fictitious party. So what you have here is you have Laura Wheeler. You had a female last November coming into the court with a fictitious action. And you've got this Gordon Baines now on the 12th of June, all of whom are guilty of contempt of court because each of them, all three of them, are a fictitious plaintiff. Not one of the three has been criminally harassed. Not one of the three has been willfully resisted or obstructed And living people don't entertain the circus and the circus clowns. The House of the Dead. We don't identify as the accused. We don't even identify as Canadian citizens. We are the people. We are living men and women. And you are once again fucking coming in with the same fucking satanic ritual abuse bullshit that you have been doing to my family for fucking almost 20 years. Sergeant, constable, inspector, mayor. Oh, there's another one, the mayor. The mayor is a fiction. So on December the 3rd, 2019, and this is the original. This is the original paperwork that I went down and I delivered to the fictitious Victoria Police Department and the public servants acting as that service. And this is a fictitious plaintiff, CIBC. They're stealing my family's home. Oh, do they have an oath? They're supposed to solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that they will duly and faithfully, to the best of their skills and knowledge, execute the powers and trusts reposed. Is that right? That the Supreme Law of Canada is the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms? That Canada is founded upon the principle that recognizes the primacy of the King of Kings. There is only one king. There's only one government. And the rule of law? Well, the rule of law is the law of consent. Equality rights. Are you joking? This is Section 15? Equal before and under the law and equal protection and benefit of law. Oh, there's affirmative action programs. That subsection 1 does not preclude any law, program, or activity that has its object to ameliorate of conditions of disadvantaged individuals or groups, including those that are disadvantaged because of race, ethnic origin. Well, so race is a protected class of people. National and ethnic origin is also protected classes of people. So my people, who Jesus prophesied are hated by this world, and we are those protected men and women. And it's affirmative action programs, which the filthy fictions, who are identifying as sergeants and inspectors and chief and mayor and this court, are completely and entirely ignoring, because they're sovereign citizens. They're sovereign citizens, and sovereign citizens are a terrorist organization that go around terrorizing innocent men and women. So this is the package of information that went into the public servants who were acting as the city of Victoria in December 3rd, 2019. This went in here, and it's talking about Daniel Carroll and its friends. They're the vagrants who are providing false information and drawing documents without authority. And that's exactly what they're doing. They did it. Daniel Carroll keeps giving false information to members of the real estate industry. He and his partners in crime, CIBC, which is a fictitious plaintiff, have a right to sell my family's land and home, which is a lie. So the court, which is a fictitious, well, it's a fictitious respondent. So their orders are of no force or effect, because it's obtained by fraud, and fraud vitiates all orders. from the beginning, because it's fraud from the beginning. Commission of offense for a criminal organization. Well, CIBC is a fictitious entity. It's a fictitious plaintiff. It can't come and file any kind of paperwork in any kind of legitimate court against men and women, against myself and my spouse. Instructing commission of offense for a criminal organization. So because Dale Manick refused service to myself and my family, it has instructed the commission of offenses for a criminal organization, as did a handful of persons who are a fictitious they're holding fictitious names. The court is a fictitious name. This court is a fictitious name. That's what they're doing. And then, of course, we went over the protections of vulnerable classes of people. So today what you heard was, it was elder abuse. That's what went on today. It was emotional, financial, physical, and spiritual abuse that went on today. But apparently, according to the propaganda posted on this fiction, province of British Columbia, apparently it's abuse. It's wrong in any form. Right? They're guilty of vagrancy. Well, so this is exactly what we keep saying, that the Crown is a corporation and not a lawful de jure authority. So they have no authority. Not one of the male monsters or female freaks coming in under a fictitious name have any authority. A corporation cannot practice law nor hire qualified lawyers to carry on the business of practicing law for it. And yet, how is it that fictitious names acting as BC prosecution, but they're not really, because they have names like Laura Wheeler and Paula Donachi and Gordon Baines. This is a hate crime. This is domestic terrorism. This is fucking domestic abuse. It's violence. A judge is not the court. So how then are these persons carrying a fictitious name providing an opinion or any kind of adjudication process at all to living men and women? Because they only deal in the dead. If one is not a person, then one cannot be a person. Well, we're not persons. The only legal person known to our law is the corporation. Right, so, which is a fictitious fucking entity. It's a fictitious name. So, a foreign diplomat, Victoria Ann, does not identify as a person. So if she is not a person, then she cannot be a person. If Victoria Ann is not a person, then she can't be a corporation. So then how is it that you believe that you have the authority to constantly commit fucking violent hate crimes? No matter how broadly the word law is defined, for the purpose of subsection 1, a policy that is administrative in nature does not fall within the definition because it is not intended to be a legal basis for government action. So how is this a government action? Because statute is not law. Statute is color of law. So how are they doing this? You have to have like-minded parties. You have to have like parties. Unsupported hearsay. Everything that we have heard out of the mouths of the pathological liars holding fictitious names and that are fictitious plaintiffs have unsupported hearsay to provide. They have statements of counsel. And statements of counsel in brief or an argument are not sufficient. for any kind of judgment or any kind of movement of any kind of legitimate court. So the protection of the Bill of Rights is not lessened because the man or woman is not a corporation. Statements of counsel are not evidence. And yet decisions have been made, threats have been uttered, terrorism is being promoted against this innocent woman by counsel. Statements of counsel, which is never evidence, it never has been, and it never will be. A court cannot hear controversy between a man and a corporation unless the man voluntarily joins the commercial jurisdiction. So again, today, Victoria is being coerced. It's coercive violence, it's coercive control. They're trying to force this woman to join a commercial action. This is a commercial transaction where they are all receiving a secret commission. The person with the fictitious name of either a judge or your worship, the person with the fictitious name BC prosecution, the Crown and the public, and well, if there's duty counsel on, that's also a fictitious name. They're all receiving a secret commission because this is a commercial transaction. It has nothing to do with law or justice. So you can't do what you're doing. And you're not listening because you're monsters. So they're talking to you. Who is you? You must attend. Who is you? We don't answer to you. This court. Okay, so let's go back over here and talk about this court. What is this court? What is this court? Well, this court is a fictitious name. That's what it is. This court is a fictitious name, a counterfeit, alias, feigned, or pretended name taken by a person, impersonating a judge, impersonating a god, impersonating authority, differing in some essential particular from its true name, with the implication that it is meant to deceive and mislead. Everything they do is deception. And this is a fictitious action. This warrant is a fictitious action. Did you hear the fucking pigs? The profane, pathetic, privileged pigs? Well, that's a matter for the fucking court. That's a matter for the court. Ha ha. Well, no, puke, we're sorry. We don't do business with fictitious names. And you're trying to force us to do business with a fictitious name. We don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Well, but that's the mind of the monster. Right? So you must attend. Well, we are not your fucking subject. We are not your fucking slave. We are not your fucking property. And we are not subject to you. Fictitious this court. Fictitious name this court. So you can fucking mislead and deceive living men and women to fucking bow down to your fucking bullshit, your brainless beast bullshit. You are fucking war criminals and you are committing genocide all day long. Every time you're fucking sitting there. That's what you're doing. That's what they're doing. Fictitious plaintiffs. It's a conflict of interest. That's what they're involved in. Abuse of power. That's what this is. This woman is under no duty obligation to any fictitious name, to any fucking fictitious plaintiff, to any fictitious fucking action. No, that's why it's canceled. We are not permitted to aid and abet your fucking hatred and your fucking malice and your breach of fucking trust. We're not fucking, no thanks. Your theatrical and moral theatrical presentation. We're not into that, thanks. Because what you're doing is abuse of power. You're guilty of abuse of power, and you've got case sites right there. Unfair judges. Yep. War crimes. Well, that's what they're doing. Forced adoption is a war crime. You steal land and homes from the true owners. That's a war crime. BC Provincial Court. That's a fictitious name. BC Supreme Court. That's a fictitious name. They're vexatious litigants. We went over this. Here's some here. Guilty of genocide. Guilty of forced adoption. Guilty of vexatious litigants. Being vexatious litigants. The Provincial Court of British Columbia. That's a fiction. That's a fictional name. This thing here, acting as the court, that the court is a fictitious name. This is a fictitious action. This is contempt of court. This right here is called contempt of court. It spits in the face of the common law and the living law and the rule of law. And now they're stealing our homes. That's my family's home right here. They fucking stole it. Oh, so you understand this, right, about the bank? No bank shall make a loan. It's the law. If they lent you money, the bank broke the law. You know how banks work? The bank is a fictitious entity operating 24/7 in fraud. 12 U.S.C. 83. No bank shall make a loan. And yet, look at fucking this. What the fuck is this? Your loan is in default. What the fuck are you talking about? The full amount? $40,000 with interest is due and payable now? Automatic withdrawals from your account have been canceled. Right, so if there's automatic withdrawals coming out of an account to make this alleged loan payment, how can there be a default? And how can there be $40,000 now due and payable? Because as we just saw, right over here, it's against the law for the bank to make a loan. So how is it that their loan is in default? This is called the fucking shakedown. And if we are owing this fictitious entity, CIBC, $40,000, why the fuck would we make a payment to this coven? To this coven of cursed creatures doing business as Fulton and Company from Kamloops? Do they have any fucking first-hand knowledge of what's going on here? Of course they don't. Of course they don't have any fucking first-hand. And this is called mail fraud. If this was a legitimate action, this would have come by process server. This is a administrative shakedown. It's an administrative process. This is a fictitious plaintiff, and this is a fictitious claim made by a war criminal named Daniel Carroll and Graham Mack. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what the fuck they're doing. And so now what we have, if we have this fucking brazen, we've got Donichi here, this fucking Paula Donichi, on the 18th of June, along with this P brazen, along with the fucking pigs at the door this afternoon, you've got them all guilty of conspiracy. It's an agreement between two or more to do an unlawful act. They've agreed, and now they want to complete. And they have a common design. So the victim, that's right, because the victim is the prosecutor. The victim is the court. You have to have first-hand knowledge of what you're talking about, or you can't fucking open your mouth. The victim needs only to prove that there's a meeting of the minds with regard to a common design to do something unlawful. This is fucking unlawful. A warrant is a war crime. It's defined in the War Crimes Act of Canada. This is a war crime. This is an act of terrorism, defined in the Terrorism Act in Canada. That's what they're trying to do here. These pukes can't arrest men and women, especially when the men and women are completely blameless. Okay, so you see this right here, Victoria Police, SAANICH Police, the Law Society of British Columbia, the Government of British Columbia. What did we talk about over here? We went over this, and we'll keep fucking going over it until these fucking monsters learn. They're fictitious names. They're all fictitious names. And if they bring an action against a man or a woman, they're fictitious plaintiffs. And this is a fucking fictitious action. An action brought for the sole purpose of obtaining the opinion. Opinions are fucking irrelevant. Opinions are not permitted in a legitimate court. There is no fucking victim here. There is no crime. Who's the body? Produce the body of the victims here. Produce these bodies. Produce their voices. Let's see sworn affidavits of these fictitious names who are claiming. Because a peace officer, that's a fictitious name. And there is no victim to this alleged offense of criminal harassment. Who is the man or woman claiming they're being criminally harassed? Well, let's fucking see the affidavit. Signed under penalty of perjury. Because what you're doing is you're fabricating evidence to use in a judicial proceeding, which is a fucking crime. You're the fucking criminals. Fictitious names. Fictitious actions. You're just fucking fictitious. You're filth. You're fucking frauds. That's what these are, fictitious names. Sorry. Discreditable conduct. So what we heard this afternoon, right, there's a YouTube channel where we upload all of this fucking hatred, this constant fucking need to criminally harass. We've got some comments here, so obviously this has been listened to. And here's Righteous Root Reign. That's the channel where there are years of proof of criminal harassment by persons operating under the fictitious name of peace officer. Because what we have right here, it says right on this paperwork, to the peace officers. That's a fictitious name. In the province of British Columbia, that's also a fictitious name. Yeah, so this afternoon for 6 minutes, there was criminal harassment, coercive control, fucking uttering threats, terrorizing and terrifying an innocent woman. And so that is defined as discreditable conduct. It's breach of trust. It's unprofessional conduct. Inappropriate communications or interactions with this woman, that's what happened this afternoon. They're threatening excessive force, and they want to engage in a physical altercation with this woman. That's what we heard at the door. So if you go in and you listen, you put your earphones on and you listen to what was being spoken to this woman by the male monsters, the malicious male monsters on the other side of the door, that's what you're going to hear them doing. Oh, and apparently they're conducting an investigation into this woman's blameless conduct. Isn't that right? Fictitious name, Chief. That's what they're up to. It's torture. So omission. So they have now committed the intentional tort of omission by refusing to recognize the authority of living men and women who are the principal of all actions. They are agents. These fictitious names are agents. They're agents. They have to follow the commands given to them by we, the people. We, the living men and women, who are only governed by consent because righteous people govern themselves. You have no jurisdiction because you're committing a fucking hate crime. You're involved in police misconduct. You're involved in fabricating evidence. You're involved in fraud on the court. You're involved in fucking wasting public resources. The criminal justice system, you are the fucking criminals. You are the fucking criminals. So you would have no standing in any matter. You could never accuse anyone of anything because you are fucking guilty of criminal harassment and willfully resisting and obstructing. This one right here is more than fucking in her right mind to identify as a peace officer. You pukes issuing a warrant for the third fucking time? We are satisfied beyond all reasonable doubt. You are not peace officers. You are fucking war criminals. You're domestic fucking terrorists. So you're intentionally torturing this woman by omitting to fucking recognize her authority, which trumps your authority all day long, actually, because you're fucking pathological liars. You're pathogens. This woman is the authority. That's the fucking right to self-determination. There's no agency in the world. Listen, if one of these male monkeys down here decides it wants to identify as a pink elephant, that's the right to self-determination, and it has every right to do that, right? Perception is the law. Perception is reality. Isn't that right? You think there was an agency in this world that was going to give Jesus a foreign diplomat passport? We're not even from here, pukes. So for a crime to exist, there's got to be an injured somebody. So who the fuck is injured? Who? They don't have a crime because there's no injured anyone. It's a contract. Everything's a contract. Everything outside common law is a contract. That's what they're doing. So that's what they're up to. It's necrophilia. That's why they're wearing black. They want me to fucking attend my own funeral. Is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get me to admit that I'm dead. Well, our people aren't the dead, we're the living. They're trying to force me into a fucking contract to commit a crime against my family and myself and my conscience. Our people's conscience. So it's a crime to identify as a person. Well, that's what this is. Canada is a person. Province of British Columbia is a person. The provincial court is a person. The peace officers are all persons. And it's a crime to identify as a person. So they're breaking their own rules. That's what they're up to. Well, here's some of the lawful reasons for no compliance. Lawful reasons: ignorance of the law. They're ignorant of the law. They're committing perjury. They have fabricated evidence. It's an immoral theatrical performance. It's public incitement of hatred, and it's fraud. That's what they're doing. That's what this is right here. They're trying to force this woman into another immoral theatrical performance by fictitious named persons in a fictitious action. So as we can see right down here, this says by coactus, and then it says void. This is void from the beginning. This is from June the 12th. That's what this says. I'll put this link in the description box. So they have to withdraw all 3 counts because what they're doing is satanic ritual abuse. That's what they're doing to my family. They've been doing it to me for decades, satanic ritual abuse. There were sadists at the door this afternoon. They're covering up for their buddies. They're trying to unalive this woman who is a whistleblower, which is a witness. They've got a cover story here with these fucking false allegations. This is their cover story to try to cover up. Right? They've got all kinds of methods. All of it leads to torture. It's all psychological torture. It's all spiritual torture. Financial torture. Physical fucking torture. I mean, it's all kinds of torture. Oh, so you have to report participating in activity and criminal activity related to the liar practice. So you're supposed to act in good faith, and yet you have a duty to report your buddies to a fictitious entity identifying itself as the Law Society, including the discovery of criminal activity related to a law practice. And so you have codes that you have to follow. BC Code Rule 7.1 through 3C. Dishonesty, fraud by client. Well, this fictitious entity, SAANICH Police and Victoria Police, they're guilty of dishonesty and fraud because both of those covens are the client of the fictitious BC prosecution. Dishonesty, fraud when the client is an organization. Well, City of Victoria, District of Saanich, they're both organizations. Provincial Court, an organization. Province of BC, an organization. So this is dishonesty and fraud. All of this is dishonesty and fraud, all of it. Oh, and that's BC Code Rule 3.2 through 8, and then you've got reporting criminal charges. So they have to, according to Law Society Rule 3 through 97, you have a duty to report criminal charges, criminal activity, duty to withdraw. So that's why these accusations have to be withdrawn, because they're committing crime. And they're aiding and abetting fictitious organizations, fictitious named organizations, in committing those crimes, those hate crimes. Duty to withdraw, criminal activity. Those are the rules. Code, fraud by client. Well, the clients are the criminals who believe that they're privileged, acting as, they identify as police. They're dishonest. They're compulsive liars. There's BC Code rules right there that they have to follow. It's an obligation that you withdraw these charges. Obligatory. Obligatory withdraw according to BC Code Rule 3.7 through 7B. And so how do you do that? Armed with first-hand knowledge and proof beyond reasonable doubt, employees for City of Victoria and District of Saanich, informants, that's who's informed these lies on paperwork. They're colluding with agents acting as the Crown. They're guilty of criminal activity, dishonesty, and fraud to protect persons guilty of possession of property obtained of my family's home. Crimes of fucking fraud on the court, mortgage fraud. So pursuant to the common law and the rules of their private society association, these persons are obligated to withdraw all charges. Court file number 1201:18951-2-A. So how do you withdraw charges? Well, the source of power comes from the common law, and the common law is to protect both life and property. So the Crown is a fictitious name. The judge, a fictitious name. The clerk of the court, a fictitious name. So the withdrawal is accomplished by refusing to put the information before the court. So in practice, the charges are withdrawn by simply writing a letter to the clerk of the court directing them not to place the information before the court. Because remember, this is their garbage, this is their trash. Clerk of the court, the judge, the Crown. What is all of that? Oh, besides being fucking just sick and twisted. It's all fictitious names. A counterfeit, an alias, feigned or pretended name taken by a person, differing in some essential particular from its true name, with the implications that it is meant to deceive and mislead. So this P. Brazen is using the clerk of the court on behalf of the province of British Columbia, all fictitious names, to try to get out of being a part of a war crime and inciting hatred and violence against a foreign diplomat. Jesus said we would be hated, and Jesus and all of our people went on and on and on about how our lives are in constant danger, and how the wicked hate us and the wicked seek to remove us from among them because they can't stand that we're here, because we know who they are, and what they're doing. We, the people, have no obligation, duty, or responsibility to attend a fiction. Failure to appear, well, only ghosts appear, only the dead appear. We are present. We are the living. And we do not take, a fictitious name. The accused is a fictitious name. The accused is a fictitious fucking name, and this is a fictitious action. Because they're obtaining an opinion from a fiction when there is no controversy, because my family are the ones who have been fucking irreparably harmed, and this is irreparable harm on purpose. It's intentional infliction of emotional fucking distress. And I spend all day, every day in fear for my life. And I have for years. And nobody fucking cares.